Falsely thoughts, race, life's a twisted place. No time to erase.
All right, Plague, welcome back.
Yo,
What's going on? First of all, I do want to apologize for last time. I was a little excited. I was a little annoyed. When it gets to panels, it kind of gets hectic. You see what I'm saying? Which is why I like to do more one-on-one stuff. So that's
no,
my bad to
I
you for being
appreciate
rude
that a
to you.
lot. I do. I didn't expect that. I appreciate that a lot. Um, but yeah, my contention will just be the God is unnecessary for purpose, morals, values. Uh,
Right.
Now, what we agree with is that you can have morals and values uh, in the atheistic worldview, or from the atheistic worldview,
Mhm.
but they're not actually. There, you can't actually account for morals and values. You can't account for purpose. That would be my contention. So you can't objectively state that something has purpose from the atheistic worldview. There's no account for it.
When you say there's no account for it, that's the thing that I run into a lot. And what exactly does that mean? You can't account for it.
So when you make a truth claim, so when you say that I do have purpose, is that a true claim? Is that a objectively true claim? Yeah, you can't actually account for purpose from the atheistic worldview. It doesn't come from anything. It's a metaphysical idea.
Wait, so like if I say that I have purpose simply because I say I have purpose, then it's not true because I don't believe in God.
Yeah, you can have the illusion of purpose. You can feel like you have purpose,
Mhm.
but it's not actually proving you have purpose.
When you say it's not actually proven I have purpose, because it's like that's really not how purpose works. You can't really prove purpose. Purpose is just an idea that we have.
So, okay, so, well, yeah, I guess we would agree there if you're in an atheistic worldview or from the atheistic worldview, but what would you define as purpose?
Purpose I would define as and this does sound circular, but basically the meaning that we take from life, or the meaning that we have in life, that we
Okay,
feel that we have.
so the meaning that the individual takes from life, but you're
Mhm.
not claiming your definition of purpose when it claimed that this person's existence actually has meaning, right?
No, that's just that would just be for me from an individual standpoint. Like I believe everyone has a purpose in life, or everyone's lives matters. Well, not everyone. There are people who I believe life doesn't matter, but yeah, that's what I would say as a general statement. As a human being, your life matters. Yes, but that's just
Yeah.
personal.
Okay. So
I
so
can't
how
say
do you
that's a. Go ahead.
so how do you account for that? You say that people have purpose, right? And
Mhm.
the human life has purpose, whatever. What is your justification for that claim? Because that's a truth claim, right? You believe that to be true, right?
Yeah, I believe that to be true personally.
So a truth claim, universal. It's a universally truth claim. So
Mhm.
how would you justify that? What's your source for that claim?
Myself.
Okay, but that's not actually accounting for purpose. That would just be you claiming that you have purpose.
Yes.
It'd be like me claiming that God's real, but I don't have any justification for it.
Yes.
So, so you do agree it's not objective.
No, it's not objective.
All right. So yeah, so no one really has purpose, right, from the atheistic world.
Um, hmm. I wouldn't say like, when for example, when you say no one really has purpose, because I can't even agree with that, because people can personally have purpose on their like people can take personal purpose. There is personal purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like just because I say I have personal purpose and you say that you don't think I have purpose, okay, well that's you. You don't think I have purpose, but I think I have purpose.
Okay, so objectively, you can have a purpose for doing a thing. So my purpose, or I have the reason that I want to keep living on. I can have a purpose, right? That can be like my meaning, the reason I'm doing the thing.
Mhm.
But when it comes down to the reason for me existing, you can't actually account for that from the atheistic worldview. You can't account for the reason you exist. And if you believe from the atheistic worldview that this is a naturalistic world, so supernatural stuff can't be accounted for. If you believe all that stuff, sure, right? But you have to acknowledge that if we are accidents in the universe, we're accidents, right?
No,
Then we have no purpose.
no, we're not accidents. We're just a we're basically just the like an emergent property. We're the results of the laws of physics, basically.
Okay, so we're a result of the laws of physics, but
Mhm.
stuff like purpose is a metaphysical claim.
Right, right. It's something that we just make up. So
Uh,
if you say that humanity has no objective purpose, um, I'm an optimistic nihilist. I actually would agree with that. No, it's that objectively the universe doesn't give a shit about us. We just
oh,
make up our own purpose.
okay, we can go a little deeper into that though. So metaphysics, uh, you say you need it. Okay, so you need empirical. Your method through truth or to knowledge is empirical evidence, right?
Yeah, mostly I would say empirical evidence. Yeah.
Well, how do you account for things like the laws of logic then? Because that's not you can't have empirical evidence for the laws of logic.
um we really can because we have to research everything that we know about how the universe works already. Like there's never going to be like some like a square circle. That's the most that's the most popular one. Like a square circle, like the laws of logic means the excluded middle, non-contradiction, and I think the last one is identity.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. Like as one of them, at least I think the law of non-contradiction, we actually can physically prove that because there's never going to be like a spherical planet that's also a square planet. You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
but
that just doesn't exist.
so you're saying, yeah, you're saying that's representative of the external world. The laws of logic are representative of the external world. But
At least the non-contradiction one.
yeah, but the only way for you to actually analyze the external world is through the laws of logic. But if your worldview says that you need empirical evidence for everything because it's a naturalistic worldview, then you can't actually reach the laws of logic. They're metaphysical claims. So you would agree that the laws of logic exist because even if humans weren't around, the laws of logic would still be in play. But no one would dispute. That's the thing. That's the thing about like naturalists, right? They believe in the laws of logic, but they can't account for the laws of logic.
When you say account for the laws of logic, what exactly does that mean?
What is the laws of logic? Can you point to it? Like
No, we can't point to it, of course.
right. So it's a metaphysical claim. So just
Yeah, it's
like
metaphysical.
yeah, just same with number theory. You can't actually
Point to numbers. Yeah, numbers don't really exist. We can't point to them.
right. They're concepts. So you can never have empirical evidence for them. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah, right. Like numbers
Right.
don't really exist.
Yeah, but from a naturalistic worldview, your way to truth, your way to truth claims is
Mhm.
through empirical evidence. But you can't have empirical evidence for the laws of logic.
We can. The only thing about what the laws of logic are is they're basically descriptions of how we understand how the universe works. Now, if there's ever a time where one of those are broken, like excluded middle is broken or non-contradiction is broken, if we actually see something that's a square circle, then boom, that changes our entire way of viewing reality. But they're just a description of how we view reality.
I get that, but to this, so you're saying the laws of logic is analyzing. You analyze society. That's how you get, or you analyze the external world.
Mhm.
But what are you using to analyze the external world?
Our senses.
And wait, but again, it would be logic, right? You'd be using logic to analyze the external world.
No, we use our senses.
Your senses. So knowledge is based off your senses, your sense data.
Mostly, but
And that,
we do know our senses can trick us. So not
right,
always.
right. So how do you know your senses aren't tricking you?
I don't.
You don't. Right. So you can't actually know truth. If truth is based off of sense data, that means truth is relative.
Um, a lot of it is, yeah. Truth can be relative. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is basically this. Yeah, truth in of itself can be relative, but we can come up with at least an approximation of what is actually accurate. You see what I mean?
But how would you know? Okay, again, so what do you mean by actually accurate?
For example,
Okay.
what's accurate is, for my senses, I see I have 5 fingers, right?
Right. Yep.
Now, I could be wrong, right? Now, if you see I have 5 fingers, and my parents see that I have 5 fingers, and millions of people see that I have 5 fingers, it's probably accurate that I have 5 fingers. You see what I'm saying? And that's not really. I understand that that sounds like an ad populism argument, but if something is consistent,
Yeah, I
if
know
it's
what you mean.
consistent that these are yeah, exactly. If it's really consistent, then it's probably most likely what the truth is. You see,
Yes.
you see what I'm saying? So
So you're
it's
saying
that's what I mean.
if it aligns with the external world.
It aligns with the external world, yeah, exactly, and it's consistently aligned with the external world,
Now, here's the
just like
problem with that,
gravity and
right?
stuff.
Here's the problem with that, right?
Mhm.
So let's say I do see that I have 5 fingers,
Mhm.
and I go look to my brother or my mom, and I say, "Do you guys see 5 fingers?" And they all agree. When you say that sense data is your only method to truth, how can you trust your own sense data? Let me give you a hypothetical. I know you probably heard this before, right? This is when you get into like metaphysical arguments. Um, how do you know you're not? What if you're a brain in a vat and you don't actually have a physical body and you're being fed information? So you think you have a mom, you think you have a brother, but all those people who are agreeing with you don't actually exist. How can you?
Right.
How can
We
you
can't
account for that?
exactly solipsism. We can't. We don't know if I don't know if I'm a brain in the vat, but like this is at the point where I have no other choice but to trust my sense data because I don't know if I'm a brain in the vat. You don't know if you're a brain in the vat. No one does.
Yeah, I would say that I know I'm not a brain in a vat, and I think you can know you're not a brain in a vat because I'll tell you why. It's self-refuting, right? When you say that truth is relative, which you agreed that truth is relative, is the claim that truth is relative a true claim?
Mm-hmm.
It's self-refuting. It
Yeah,
debunks itself.
probably.
So,
Yeah,
so the
probably. But
yeah.
what I'm saying is that that doesn't disprove that you're a brain of that because how you know you're not a brain of that talking to me right now.
Oh well, yeah. Again, I'm not trying to get into the transcendental argument. I'm trying to stay on the morality without God. But um, my personal thing, I would say that the actual we can account for knowledge or the possibility for knowledge is evidence for a God, a divine mind, right? Who is the source of logic? Who is the source of identity? So being able to identify yourself in time, right? That's what I would say, right? But that's irrelevant, right? We're trying to talk from the naturalistic perspective. From the naturalistic perspective, right? They can't account for knowledge. You can't know knowledge. If you come to the conclusion that truth is relative because truth is based off sense data, if truth is based off sense data, then truth is relative, meaning you can't actually make any truth claims. But if that was the case, if you say that truth is relative, is that a true claim? You see how it's a circle? It
Yeah.
debunks itself.
Right, but the thing is, so does your position because you're simply saying that there's this mind that exists outside of space and time, or this mind where all knowledge comes from. How can we even determine that to be true? And
Okay,
where did
that's
that
fair.
mind come from?
So, okay, so it's a presumptive argument. So it's a presupposition, right? The claim is that God is a necessary precondition for knowledge, right? Because of the impossibility of the contrary. So you literally can't have knowledge without God. That's the claim.
But
And
that's a presupposition, right?
yeah, it's a presupposition,
All
but
right. So,
it's proven by the impossibility of the contrary.
but how is the contrary impossible? What is the contrary, and what makes it impossible?
So if there's no God again, right, or not that there's no God, again, you can't have knowledge without a God.
Why
That's
not?
I demonstrated that. If truth is relative, is that a true claim? It's a loop.
Probably.
It's incoherent.
Yeah, it's a loop, and it's a philosophical thing that, but that doesn't mean that we can't have knowledge anymore just because we're not sure what the 100% absolute truth is.
Is that a true claim that you just said?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It loops. You can't actually know truth. Truth is impossible.
Right,
Knowledge is impossible.
right, but at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're simply saying because we have this philosophical problem, it's solved by putting this other problem that we don't know is true.
Well, you think that knowledge is impossible, but
No, I think knowledge is possible,
well, that's my argument. The fact that knowledge is possible is the argument for God.
but a God doesn't necessarily have to exist just for knowledge to exist.
Yes, he does.
All right, but you're asserting that. How do you show that to be true?
Yeah, oh, that's fine. I get that. So again, you can't actually get to logic, right? You can't actually account for logic from a naturalistic perspective because you need empirical evidence to
Mhm.
verify something is true. But
Yeah.
again, you can't have empirical evidence for metaphysical ideas like the laws of logic. You need metaphysics, right? So if you're granting that logic is some external force out there, you're granting that. You're saying logic is a external force that binds the universe. Then
No, I'm
you're
not saying that logic is the external force that binds the universe. I'm saying that the laws of logic are descriptions of how we describe the universe. They come
yeah,
from
but
our descriptions of the universe.
yeah, but you can't even get to logic. You have to use logic to describe the universe. If
No,
you're
we
if
have
you
to use our senses and our language and the way that we communicate with each other to describe the universe. Yeah.
yeah, again, that would make truth relative. If it's based off sense data, then
Mhm.
truth is relative, meaning there is no true claims, right? And also,
But what I'm saying is that most people on this planet, for the majority of us, unless someone has um delusional paranoia or schizophrenia, most of us, like the vast majority of us, have the same sort of senses. You see what I'm saying? A lot of us have the same sort of mind and the same sort of senses. We could all understand each other for the most part, especially if we speak the same language. You see what I'm saying? Saying that you know are just because like I have myopia, right? So I have bad vision, so I wear contacts, right? You may not have myopia, you might not have bad vision, but we still all
you,
have vision. If we can all see something, you know what I'm saying, and if we could all hear something, all hear the same thing, and that thing is consistent, that's
okay,
approximately what the truth is. It's not just, this is what I see, what the truth is, and then you see what the truth is.
how do you
What
know
we
I'm
do,
real?
right? What I don't, but that's
Right,
hard
that's my
solipsism. None of
point.
us.
So
What I'm saying is, hold on. What I'm saying is that none of us can solve that because you don't know I'm real either. None of us can solve that because hold on. How do you know that that you're not in the brain of that, and it's feeding you this assumption that there's a mind outside of space and time?
because the possibility of knowledge.
Right. But how do you know the brain of that? How do you know you're on the brain of that that's feeding you that idea?
Again, because of the possibility of knowledge.
But the brain of that is feeding you that idea. So how do you know that you're not a brain of that?
Yeah, I don't believe that truth is based off of sense data, though. I don't believe that.
Okay, so truth is not based off our senses. So I'm not a black ball person.
1 second. My apologies. My apologies. I had to do something.
No, all good.
Okay.
Right. So am I a black ball person?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Because I'm viewing you and I'm seeing that you're a black ball person. Yeah.
Exactly. So the truth is based off of sense data.
Yeah, no, it isn't. I don't believe that. Because if the truth is based, look, you need to understand that's your view. So that's not my view, right? If you believe that truth is based off of sense data, then it would necessarily be true that the truth is relative.
Okay,
Making
so
an
it's
incoherent worldview. That's an
so
incoherent worldview.
so it's relative that I'm a black ball person.
From your worldview, yeah.
No, not from my worldview. It's not
Yes.
relative that I'm a black ball person. I'm a black ball person because I have a skin tone which in society considers black, and I'm bald because that's how we describe people without hair.
Yeah, but you can't even get to the external world from the naturalistic worldview.
No one can. That's what
I
I'm saying. Hard solipsism has no. So hard solipsism has no answer. You're just asserting that you're
No,
not
yes, there is
a
an
brain
answer.
of. Hold on. You're just asserting that you're not a brain of that because you know that you're not a brain of that. How do you know that you're not a brain of that? Feeding you the idea
Oh,
that you have knowledge.
okay.
How do you solve that?
I
You
get what you're
can't.
saying. I get the problem. So the problem is that yeah, we're having a worldview. We're having a clash of worldviews, right? So from your worldview, you believe that truth comes from your sense data. I'm saying that would make knowledge incoherent. It would make knowledge impossible. My worldview states that the necessary precondition for knowledge is God. Us having knowledge, therefore God.
Okay, so my worldview is not just based off we see things and we feel things, it's based off our sense data. Therefore, we know what the truth is. My worldview is that it's not only based off our sense data, but our experience, not just our sense data and our experience, but experiments and data that we have, that data that we can gather from the universe around us to come up with the approximate amount of truth. What you're saying is that our knowledge comes from this thing that we cannot prove.
No. Yeah, the proof is the fact that we have knowledge. Your worldview
That's a
states that
circular argument, bro.
okay, a circular argument is okay on a meta level. Metalogic, you can have circular art. Actually, in metalogic, all arguments have to be circular. Let me give you an example.
But you just criticize the truth is relative thing for being circular. So you can have
because
circular,
that's
but I can't.
normative logic. Metalogic is different. For example,
Who the fuck cares, bro? I don't care about that. You can't say that I can't have a circular argument, but you can.
Wait, no, okay.
That makes no sense.
No, I get the confusion. Again, I know it sounds fallacious. Again, metalogic, I can give you an example. In metalogic, you have to have circular arguments. Actually, every worldview, I forgot the philosopher, he wrote a book about this, but every worldview ends up in a circular argument at the end, right? Even the worldview with the sense data, that's coming to a circular argument. Now, again,
but for this sort of logic, you can have it, but my sort of logic, you can't. That's special pleading.
No, it isn't. It's metalogic. I'm gonna give you an example. Look at, can you prove to me that language is meaningful without using language?
Oh no, I have to use language.
Right, it's a circle, but it's still valid, is it not?
Yeah, of course, I have to use language.
Right, that's metalogic. Can you give me a rational argument without can you give me can you tell me, or can you account for reason without using a rational argument?
You got to use reasoning. No,
you have to. It's a circle.
Right.
That's metalogic.
But from what I was saying from the beginning is that, yeah, I can't prove that I'm a brain of that. I have to use my senses because there's no other way. I have no other choice. But you're saying that's
so you can't account for truth, right? So you can't account for truth, right?
And neither can you under that.
Yeah, but that's your worldview. So you believe that.
And so, yeah, and you believe that you can by appealing to something else, but you don't know if you're a brand of that, and that, and that, hold on, but you don't know if you're a brand of that that's feeding you information from a computer that's saying that is the reason. You have the same problem I have.
Again, I believe that the brain of that thing isn't true for the fact that we have knowledge. That's the argument. So we're having a clash of worldviews. Your worldview,
so
your worldview leads to truth being relative, not knowing you're a brain of that. My worldview leads to truth being possible.
Right. No, my worldview is that truth is possible. We just we're just not 100% sure how to get there yet because we have to use our sense data and collect data. You know what I'm saying? But you're saying that your worldview does it because I just know things, therefore God.
It's not that I know things. I'm using elements of the world, right? I'm using knowledge to get to God. Again, you can't have the laws of logic from a naturalistic world.
The knowledge that you're gaining to get to God, how do you know that you're just not being fed the matrix of this knowledge that you get to God with?
Again, if my worldview is true, then I'm not a brain into that. Do you understand that, right?
And if my worldview is true, neither are we.
No. If your worldview is true, you can never know knowledge. You can never know it.
If my worldview is true, we can never know that we're a brand of that.
Yes, you can never know. And therefore,
right. And neither can you.
That's from your worldview. That's the whole point. Where
no, neither can you.
Again, it's like me saying, right? It's
the reason why I'm saying it's not my worldview because again, you're simply saying I know I'm not a brain of that because I have knowledge. I can still say the same thing. I know I'm not a brain of that because if I shoot a gun in the air, it's not going to hit anything or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I could say the exact same thing you say using other means. I know I'm not a brain of that because if I jump off a building, I'm going to break my leg. Therefore, I'm not a brain.
Wait, then use those other means.
Okay, so I can jump off my house right now. And I'm going to break my leg. So I'm not a brain of that.
That's still sense data.
And yeah, it is still sense data, but I know I'm not a brain of that because I broke my legs.
Yeah, that's still sense data.
But I still broke my legs, right? And I have the knowledge of me breaking my legs, right?
And you're being fed information, you wouldn't know you're a brain of that. You think you're a human. You think you'd feel pain. That's sense data.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you determine what you have to use your sense data as well? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we both have presumptive arguments. That's what a presumptive. We're having presupposition. This is
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the presupposition is that we have to use our sense data. That's just a presupposition. We have to.
No,
I
agree. We have to use our sense data. It's just you're saying truth comes from our sense data. We have no other way of verifying where else it comes from. Right. And in your worldview, since you have no other way of verifying truth outside of sense data, truth is relative. In my worldview, we
not always. What I'm saying is not always. The truth is not always relative. There are things that are absolutely true that are not necessarily relative. That the fact that I'm a black bald person.
Yeah, again,
that's not relative, bro.
You can only determine that through sense data.
So I'm not a black bald person?
If someone perceived you as not, how would you tell them they're wrong? If you believe truth is based off sense data, how would you tell them they're wrong? You can't. It's
I
relevant.
can, because there's something is wrong with their senses if they don't see that I'm a black bald person.
Yeah, again,
Because that's consistent throughout our society.
You're-
There was never going to be a time where I'm a white person with blue eyes and blonde hair.
again,
That's just not going to happen. If a person sees me that way, something is wrong with their sense data. Because obviously you see me as a black bald person, and so do millions of other people. So
again,
my
from
ID.
your worldview, you
Hold on,
can't
it's
prove
not.
I'm
What I'm saying
real.
is that it's not just sense data. It's not just your senses.
From
It's
your
also
worldview, you can't prove
it's
I'm
not.
real.
Listen, it's not just senses. It's also the data that we have.
What is that data? Define the data.
Information.
And okay, great. How do you reach
Okay.
information?
So
What is information?
the way that we reach information. We're actually out of time, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Okay.
We actually had 20 minutes. We out of time. Well, but what I'm
This is a
saying
good
is,
talk for sure, though. But
okay. All right, we you got any last things for me? Blake, you there? All right, Blake. Appreciate you, man. I'll see you. I'll see you soon. All right, y'all. I'm bring up one last guest.